Yo, it's Randy, and welcome to my new series called Prep School, because you don't know how to cook, and I'm gonna help you with that. All right, so I love to cook. I don't think you can become a 270-pound man without loving to eat, so cooking, second nature to me. I've always followed my mom around the kitchen and tried to learn as much as I could from her. And you know, cooking is just a part of my blood. It's been in my family for generations. My granddad owned a smokehouse, so you'll see plenty of barbecue recipes on this series as well. And over the past few years, cooking has really become therapeutic for me. Been through a lot, and when I'm in the kitchen, it helps calm my nerves and it makes me feel good. Now, just because I love to cook does not mean that I like to entertain. So I'm not inviting any of you guys over to the house to eat or anything like that. I don't want to, and if you do get an invite, food's gonna be good. I don't know, it's something about having people over that requires you to wear pants that I'm not always fond of. And I do have on pants for this episode this week, but I can't promise that I will all of the time. A lot of people equate eating healthier to suffering, and that does not have to be the case. I prepared for bodybuilding shows, photo shoots, you name it, and I've never, ever felt like I was suffering anytime that I had to diet. Always made my own food and always made sure it was good. And the better the food is, the more likely you are to eat it. The more likely you are to eat it, the more weight you'll lose, muscle you'll gain, insert whatever goal that you have. This week, I have one of the most villainized clean foods that you'll ever hear about. The dreaded, dry, crusty chicken breast. Chicken breast can be terrible if it's cooked wrong. Shouldn't be dry, shouldn't be bland, shouldn't be difficult to eat. So this week I'm gonna show you guys how to brine a chicken breast and make a pretty simple seasoning blend that you can use not only on chicken breast, but on other cuts of meat. It's really good on potatoes and even your rice if you want it. Oh, and before we actually get started, I am not a chef, but my buddy Peyton decided to make an investment into this series by buying me this chef hat, but it's really tight and uncomfortable. So Peyton, my boy, love you, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks for the investment, but this has got to go. All right, so what we're gonna make today is a pretty simple chicken breast. We're gonna sear it in the pan, but before we do, we wanna brine it. And what a brine does is allows extra moisture to get inside of the meat by penetrating it with salt and sugar or whatever you wanna add to the solution. And it helps to add flavor to the inside of the meat so that it's seasoned all the way through. All right, so let's prep our brine. Got a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of salt, 1 quart of water in the pot ready to boil, and 1 quart of water in ice. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the induction burner here and get this joker going. And I'll explain how the brine works as we mix everything up. Bring that temperature down a little bit. So first things first, we're gonna go ahead and dump in our salt and sugar and get that stirred up. All right, so the way this brine works is with a 1/2 gallon of water and a 1/4 cup of each salt and sugar, you're gonna get the desired effect by letting your meat marinate or soak for about an hour per pound. So the chicken breast I have today is about just under a pound, so I'll let it sit for about 45 minutes. But if you had some bigger cuts that were on the bone, you could let it sit for a couple of hours depending on that weight. So if you don't have a kitchen scale in your house, make sure you get one so that way you'll know the exact weights. And let's say you had like a 12-pound chicken or turkey or something like that that you wanted to brine, then you would do it for 12 hours and then cook it the next day, or put it in at night and then cook it the next morning. All right, now while that is going, I am gonna mix up a really, really simple spice blend for you guys. Salt, pepper, and garlic. As you can see, I already have some in this container, and it's something that I use pretty often, so I'm just gonna refill this one so you guys get an idea of what it looks like. I like these little glass containers just because they're easy to clean and keep up with. And it makes it easy to mix up spice blends or spice rubs so that you can have them available when you need them. So instead of always having to do this, you just mix up your salt, pepper, and garlic and have it ready to go. What you could have did with this is whisked it in before you put it in there, but I got enough room in my container that I can just shake them up. Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it. And then it's ready to go. So this right here is what we're going to use on the outside of the bird after we let it soak in the brine so that the flavor penetrates all the way through. Another thing with a brine too, doesn't just have to be salt water. You can also add a little bit of garlic to it as well. So I'm gonna do that now as this thing kind of heats up. It doesn't have to come to a roaring boil, but you're basically heating this water up enough to get it dissolved so that it'll all be incorporated and ready for your chicken to soak in. All right, guys, simple as that. We got our brine ready and we got our seasoning ready. Now it's time for us to get the chicken ready. All right, so let's prep this chicken. So these chicken breasts that I have are pretty thin and pretty well trimmed up. I got lucky when I went to the store. But sometimes, you know, you'll have a little bit of things that you can cut off to make it easier to cook. And some of the stuff you just don't want to eat. So any excess fat or silver skin or sinew, anything like that, you want to get rid of. All right, so let me show you what that looks like. The key to trimming any meat is to have a really, really sharp knife. Knives don't have to be quite as fancy as mine, but they should definitely be sharp and good to go. So what I'm cutting off here is not only just a little bit of meat that's not going to cook at the same rate as the rest, but also some of that silver skin or sinew that's sitting on top of this good chicken meat here. And then we got a little piece right here that's not going to be good to eat. You can feel it too, it's really tough. So I'm going to get in there with this knife and see if I can cut it off. Sharp knife is everything. And then once you get them trimmed up, you can just drop them in a little bath, and then they'll sit in the fridge for an hour. These probably about 45 minutes because they're not quite a pound. Another thing too, like if you had a piece of chicken that was really, really thick on one side and thin on the other, you could put it in like a Ziploc bag and kind of gently tap it with a meat mallet so that it all cooks even. Because what you don't want is for one half of your chicken to get the temperature and the other half to either already be done or not quite done yet. Cooking chicken is all about time and temperature, okay? If you cook it under the prescribed temperature, it'll make you sick. So granted, you'll lose weight, but not the way you want to. If you cook it over the prescribed temperature, you'll still lose weight because you won't want to eat it and you'll be malnourished. And I'll tell you what, man, dry and tough chicken just ain't sexy. And our goal is to be sexy, right? So make sure you cook at the temperature. For chicken breasts, you're looking at 160, 165. I'm gonna try to get these guys to 160 and then let the temperature continue to rise once they rest to get up to 165. And then they're done. If you cook it over that, it's gonna be dry, you're not gonna like it, okay? Resting meat after it's cooked is always crucial because you don't want to cut right into it and allow all of the juices to run off instead of redistributing and making the meat juicy like you want it, right? Right? All right, good. All right, so these guys are ready to go. I'm gonna cover them up and put them in the fridge. Another clutch item to have is a good set of cutting boards. What you see on the bottom here is a butcher block that I got from Lowe's. One, because I wanted a big work surface, and two, my countertops are really reflective. And then what I have here is a separate meat-only cutting board because I don't even want to cross-contaminate with anything other than just meat on this one. So this one only gets used for raw meat, and then I have another one that I'll use for vegetables. You can cut vegetables right on the butcher block. You can cut anything on this butcher block. And, you know, I have the other one to present whatever's cooked. So you'll see a cooler pattern on that one. I got this one too because it looks different than the rest of my cutting boards, and I'll always know that this one is for meat. All right, see you guys in about 45 minutes. All right, so it's been about 45 minutes, and I've taken the chicken out of the brine and rinsed it off. You always want to rinse off anything that's been brined because the idea is for the salt to get inside of the chicken, and you still want to be able to season the outside. So you don't want that salt water and all that salt solution sitting on the outside. You're going to season it anyway. All right, so right now, the chicken is just out of the brine, and I'm going to dry it off. Flip him over. Dry some more. And then we're gonna season these guys. I like these baking pans with the racks inside because you can use them for a lot of different things. You can use them as cooling racks. You can use them to air fry if you have a convection oven like I do. And you can use them to season and marinate stuff without making a mess. All right, so we're gonna season both sides of this dude, and then we'll just let this hang out until we're ready to fry it or sear it in the pan. Again, with chicken breast this small, you're looking for maybe a 30 minute to an hour soak in the brine, and then it'll be perfectly ready to go. All right, while these sit in the seasoning, I'm gonna get the pan set up and ready to sear. All right, so I got my pan heating up. It's just about ready. Anytime you sear something, you wanna use a high temp oil like grapeseed oil or avocado oil. I happen to like grapeseed oil a little bit better because the flavor profile is a little bit more neutral. Got me some oil right here. You see I got a little smoke in my pan. And I'm gonna just drop some of this in there like that. And then I'm gonna throw some chicken in there. Got you some tongs. Sit that dude in there. These guys should not take very long to cook. It is key to have your thermometer close so you can check that temperature so that as soon as they're ready to come off, you can pull them off and they're not overcooked. Flip that one a little bit too early, but I'm gonna let the other side get a little bit more color on it so you guys can see what I'm doing. Chicken smelling good. So we got these dudes just about ready to pull off. I'm temping at about 160, 155, 160. So we're gonna get these guys ready to pull off. And then we'll sit them on the cutting board and let them rest until we're ready to slice into them. Not too bad for chicken cooked in the pan, right? Here's my favorite part. We get to test our work. As you can tell, this is some good looking chicken. And I'm gonna slice into this dude a little bit and have a look and see what we did. You can see here, juicy all the way through. Let me catch some focus on that guy. That's it. Yeah, cooked through. And it actually looks pretty good, but I'll be the judge of that. Yep. Seasoned all the way through. You can taste the notes of all of the flavors on the inside, a little hint of garlic on the inside, and the seasoning on the outside is perfect. As you can see, we got a good sear on the chicken, and that is because we seared it at high temp. Chicken breast was thin, so it's pretty easy to do that. And this is something that you can do in bulk. You know, if you want to brine 2 pounds, 3 pounds, 4 pounds of chicken, sear it all in the pan in batches, and then you can put it in the fridge. And as long as you don't overcook it, even when you heat it back up, it'll still be good the next day. Simple, right? Told you. Now, instead of suffering through dry, stringy chicken breasts, keep tuning in to this series so I can teach you how to make stuff the right way. Some good ass chicken. See you guys on the next one. Peace.